Have you ever wondered how 6 and 7 figure eBay and Depop resellers are sourcing their inventory? Well, today I'm going to show you how. Hey, what's up guys? It's Gabriel Hayes here. I'm a 6-figure reseller. I mainly sell on eBay, Depop, and whatnot. I do sell on Poshmark and Mercari as well. Today I'm going to be going over the best ways to source clothing, whether you sell vintage and Y2K stuff on Depop, or you sell clothing on eBay, whatever it is. If you sell like specific kind of women's stuff on Poshmark, you sell specific clothing on whatnot, these methods will help you find inventory fast, cheap, and easy for all avenues of selling clothes. So I have about 10. All of these methods I have personally put a lot of money into. So these are not just things that I'm making up on the go. I would say 8 out of the 10 that I'm going to be showing you guys today, I have personally spent over thousands of dollars on sourcing these methods. Last year, I did over 6 figures across whatnot, eBay and Depop. This year, we're on pace to do over 200,000. Obviously, it's the beginning of the year. Last month, I did 20K. So I do have a lot of experience with these sourcing methods. So yeah, let's get into it. Also, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. All of these are very location dependent. Well, some of them. So I am gonna preface where you would need to be for each one. But for this one, we're gonna start off with one anyone can use, and that's gonna be thrift stores. That's the one everyone almost knows. You guys probably aren't coming to this video for me to tell you you can source at thrift stores. It's a proven way to source. Even nowadays with thrift stores increasing their prices, almost every town, even if you live in a small town, has at least one thrift store. If you live in a more populated area, you probably have more like 5 to 10 thrift stores within like a 30-45 minute driving distance. So that's a tried and true way of sourcing. There are of course going to be some thrift stores in your area to avoid. Like there are a couple near me that like every t-shirt's like, you know, $7-8. It's not worth it. All the jeans are like $15. Like I'm not going there to source, but there are still thrift stores, majority of thrift stores where things are, you know, the average cost of goods is going to be from like $3 to $7, and you can still make decent profit if you know what you're looking for. I'm not going to go too much into depth on thrift stores, but yeah, you need to be in a little bit of a populated area. Most of you watching this probably are. If you live on a farm in the middle of nowhere, you might not have any thrift stores near you, but luckily there are ways of sourcing in this video for every single person. If you live in the middle of nowhere, if you live in a very densely populated area with a lot of competition, there are ways to source to be successful for everyone in this video, so keep watching. Okay, so the second one is a little seasonal, depending on where you live. It's going to be garage sales. So I live in Florida. There's literally garage sales year round. There are some seasons where there's more than others. So in most of the states where the weather is pretty decent most of the year, there's always going to be garage sales, and I have gotten very good deals at garage sales. Honestly, some of my best deals have been at garage sales. I for sure have spent over $1,000 on garage sales before. I'll see if I can find any pictures of bundles I've gotten from garage sales and pop them up here. But yeah, I've spent a lot of money at garage sales, and if you buy a lot of stuff, typically people are just trying to get rid of things. You know, that's usually why people have garage sales. So if you buy a lot of stuff, they'll typically like give you things for like way below what you would pay at like a thrift store, for example. Like you could get, let's say they end up having like 50 things you want to buy. You could probably easily walk out of there, give them 50 to $100, and like you'll make a lot of money on that. So garage sales are very hit and miss though, because a lot of garage sales you'll pull up and they will have just straight junk, or they might not have any clothes. I do recommend stopping every once in a while. Some people, this is their main way of sourcing. I know like down here in Florida, flea markets and garage sales are like the two main ways of sourcing for a lot of people down here. So they are a very vital way to source. This next one's going to apply to pretty much everyone. It's going to be Facebook Marketplace. This one can be different depending on where you live, because if you live in Nebraska, you might not have as much competition in the clothing reselling space. So let's say someone has a bunch of clothes, you know, some old biker guy, he's getting rid of a bunch of Harley shirts and he wants to sell like 100 Harley shirts for $3. Well, if you post that on Facebook Marketplace, someone might buy it like within 30 minutes. I have done lots of those deals. That's why I thought of that one, for example. I've done like, when I used to live in Kansas City, there's a lot. I've gotten like 3 really big Harley t-shirt deals that were really good for really cheap. And I'm always checking Facebook Marketplace. If you live in a densely populated area, there's usually a lot of good deals that come through Facebook Marketplace, but the thing is they go very quickly. Typically, if you are on Facebook Marketplace, and let's say, like, I'll pop up one near me, for example, that looks like a good deal, but if it's a new listing, Facebook will say under it, it will say, like, listed within the last few hours or listed in the last few days. If it's been listed for over a week or so, either the seller is unresponsive, or 2, it's actually not a good deal. It usually means that people have probably contacted them, probably did try and go buy something, and then they realize that it's not good stuff. So typically, if you see a listing that looks really good and you're in a highly populated area and it's been up for a while, honestly, just stay away from it. It's probably not a good listing. If a listing has been up for only a few hours and it looks good, it probably, chances are, it is good. I always message. I try to be as polite as possible. I don't spam. If they don't respond the first time, maybe I message them one more time a few hours later. If they don't respond, that's that. I always say I can pick up next day. I can pick up whenever you're available. Let me know. Cash on hand. Don't try and negotiate through text. This is one rule that I always apply to Facebook Marketplace. I always recommend trying to negotiate. You always want to get your average cost of goods down, but never try to negotiate through Facebook Messenger. It could stray someone away from setting up an appointment with you. So just say you have cash on hand, and then when you get there, look through everything they have, and then negotiate there with cash in hand. You're way more likely to get a better deal. Almost every time I go to a deal with cash on hand and negotiate, I end up getting a better deal than what it was listed for, even if they have 50 people messaging them. Because I'm already there, they've already invested their time into it, and yeah, usually it ends up going good. So it just depends on where you are, how often you check Facebook. I usually check Facebook Marketplace at least twice a day. And after you've done a few of these deals, Facebook will just always be recommending them to you. You can also set up on Facebook to enable notifications when a listing has a similar name to what you're looking for is listed. So that's a very good tool. The notifications don't really go out that quick. Sometimes they take like 2 to 3 hours after a listing's made for you to get the notification for it. So I still recommend always checking yourself, but that is a very good resource if you do want to source on Facebook Marketplace. I'm not ranking these in any sort of way. I just want to go through all of the ways I've sourced. Or there's like one way of sourcing in this video I've never personally sourced, but it is a broadly known way of sourcing. But this next one is going to be the Goodwill bins / outlet. This is personally my favorite. This is probably up there with 1 or 2 of my top ways of sourcing. I have sourced a lot of clothes at the bins, and not every day you go to the bins is going to be a good day. There might be days where you go there and you walk out with 2 things, and there might be days where you go there and you walk out with like 60 things. So it's very hit or miss, but if you are consistent about it, I try to go at least 3 times a week. You can consistently be getting decent inventory, sometimes very good inventory, and you're only paying, usually the cost is $1 to $2 per pound, depending on where your Goodwill is. I have seen some Goodwills where it's over $2 per pound. That's still obviously a cheap price compared to thrift store pricing, but most Goodwills are in that range, in between $1 to $2. I'm not going to go too much into the Goodwill bins. I could go way more in depth about the best ways to source while you're there, but the gist of it is, for those of you who don't know, it's a big store where Goodwill gets a lot of donations. I think the statistic is, I can't remember exactly, I'll pop it up, I've seen it before, is like 70 to 80% Goodwill donations go to the bins. So you're literally looking through raw donations and you can find a lot of good stuff, and usually they're typically just, they bring out bins depending on your location. Sometimes they only bring out new bins of clothing once per day. A lot of locations in larger cities bring bins out like every 30 minutes to an hour. It just depends. So, you know, go to your Goodwill bins, talk to some people there, learn how your Goodwill bins works. That way you know when to be there for the new bins and stuff, because obviously the new bins are where you're going to find the best stuff. This one is kind of directed towards the people who are brand new to selling. It's not something you consistently can source with, but if you are just starting out or you're looking into reselling anything, honestly, but this video is related to clothing, but this could be related to anything. I did this when I first started reselling. Reach out to your family and friends. Most of your family and friends, probably each one of them, probably have several, if not a lot, of clothing items that have been sitting in their closet for a very long time, and they would be more than happy to support you and just give them to you either for free or for, like, you know, pennies on the dollar. So if you are planning on starting a reselling business, if you want to start reselling video games, or you want to start reselling clothes, or you want to start reselling DVDs, literally anything, when you're starting, it's always a good idea. Even if they all say no, you at least should ask. It's not rude to ask. Just be like, hey, do you have any of whatever? Do you have any clothes that you guys are looking to get rid of? I can throw you a few dollars. Just, you know, trying to start a little business, whatever, you know, give your little spiel. If they say no, it is what it is. No hard feelings. If they say yes, well, there you go. You just got some good stuff for cheap. And it can help you get things going in the beginning, because the beginning of starting a business is always going to be the hardest part. If you're new, reach out to family and friends. This next one is going to be another one that's very location dependent. So if you live in states like Texas, California, Florida, those kinds of states where it's pretty good weather most of the year, this is going to be a very popular way of sourcing, and that's going to be flea markets. So I personally have sourced at flea markets a lot as well. This is another big one. It used to be a lot bigger for me. Found more local people near me that I work with a lot, and I go to the Goodwill bins a lot too. I do still go to the flea market at least like 2 to 3 times a month. I used to try and go like once a week. I don't really do that anymore, but you can get some crazy deals at the flea market, because a lot of the times it's kind of just a huge garage sale. And so earlier I talked about garage sales, so the benefits are kind of the same. Sometimes there are professional vendors. Well, a lot of times there are professional vendors at flea markets. It's usually half and half depending on the flea market you go to. But either way, you will find some great deals. The thing with flea markets, I always recommend being there early. If the flea market opens at 7 a.m., be there at 6 a.m. For example, in Florida, a lot of the times my flea markets do open at 7 a.m. I'm there at 6 a.m. when it's still dark outside, walking around with a flashlight on people that they're setting up their tables. And that's usually when some of the best deals happen, because no one else has been able to look at what they're offering. You're the first one there. There is other resellers there. Not that many. People don't like to get up that early. They don't like to drive that far, because especially with flea markets, they're not going to be next door. They're usually kind of in the middle of nowhere. So for example, even though I live in Tampa, a lot of the times I'm still driving like an hour to an hour and a half to get to a flea market near me. That's decent. So if I'm trying to be there at 6 a.m., that means I have to wake up at 4 a.m. So it is a bit of a, you know, it's a little crazy. It usually does pay off though. I have never walked away from a flea market that I've gone to on time empty-handed. If you go to the flea market 3 hours after it opens, so let's say the flea market opens at 7 a.m., you get there at 10 a.m., most of the resellers have probably cycled through there and cleared it out of whatever was worth it. But you still might find a good deal, because people are always putting out new stuff as the day goes on. Some vendors are very slow to set up. And some people, let's say a vendor gets to the flea market late, or someone gets to the flea market late who wants to just sell some stuff from the garage. There are still chances to get good stuff, but most of the best stuff is going to be there really in the morning, probably if that first hour before it starts, an hour after or whatever. So that first like 2 hours is where you're going to find the best stuff. This next one is kind of controversial in the vintage clothing world, and it's going to be rag houses. This is very, very location dependent, and it's also very relationship dependent. I personally know a few people who source at rag houses, but I don't have connections to personally source at one myself, and there's also not really one in my area. This is the only sourcing method on this list that I've never used, so I can't give too much information on it, but pretty much what a rag house is, once someone donates clothes or whatever it is, sometimes it goes straight to a rag house or textile recycling. It has other names for it. It's typically known in the community as a rag house, but there are other names. Textile recycling is another good name. If you want to look up to see if there's one near you, look up rag house near me, look up textile recycling near me, clothing recycling near me, fabric, whatever. Just try and look up those kind of keywords. See if there's any near you. You can always try calling them. A lot of them are very exclusive though, and they usually only have like 1 or 2 people they allow in to pick. So it's probably, your spot is probably already taken. So this is not one I've really tried too much to get into. I thought I would throw it into here because it is a good way of sourcing if you can find one near you and get access. Typically, you need to have a relationship with someone already sourcing there or someone who owns it. So it is hard to kind of get into those. This next one is going to be a very good one, and that's going to be local reseller buyouts. And this is kind of similar to Facebook Marketplace because a lot of the deals that I have found on Facebook Marketplace are just local resellers who are wanting to get out of the game. So this is kind of hand in hand with Facebook Marketplace, but not all deals are going to be on Facebook Marketplace. A lot of resellers are first going to go to their Instagram story. I've gotten a few deals from resellers near me where they just post on their Instagram story, hey, I'm getting rid of all this stuff, DM me if you're interested. And it's kind of the same thing as Facebook Marketplace. If you're not one of the first ones to message them, you probably aren't going to get it. Also, don't try and negotiate on text. Those same rules apply. Go there with cash, negotiate in person. Try and work with their schedule. The thing with these deals, this applies to Facebook Marketplace too. I didn't really say this, but never try to make them work with your schedule. You're trying to get the deal. So they're not gonna, they have other people coming to them. If you can't be available and meet with them when they are available, I know from a lot of people, you have schedules, you may have kids, whatever it is, you can't just leave on a dime to go do a Facebook Marketplace deal. Luckily, I'm young. I have a girlfriend, but like I don't have any kids to take care of, and I own my own business. So when it comes to like having to drive 2 or 3 hours to go do a Facebook Marketplace deal, it's for my business, so I can justify doing that, and I can usually clear up if anything's on my schedule. I can make myself available and be one of the first people there. Also, if you have relationships, I always recommend establishing relationships with local resellers near you, because I've also had resellers text me personally asking if I want to buy them out. And obviously, unless you have a relationship with someone, that's never going to happen. I've probably done around 10 buyouts of a reseller's inventory. Probably half of those were Facebook Marketplace. A handful texted me directly, a handful through Instagram. So there are different ways that you can find these, but if you do find them, they can be a very valuable way to get good inventory for a decent price. Usually they're gonna want at least what they paid for it, which could be anywhere from $3 to $6 per item, but depending on the items, it can be pretty good. This next one, I actually have made a video on this one. Also, I've made a video on flea markets. I've made a video on shopping at thrift stores, and then I made a video on this one as well, which is vintage bales. I've also made a video on Goodwill bins as well. So go check my channel. I don't have that many videos posted. Almost every single video on my channel is a different way of sourcing from the list on this video. So if you want to see more in-depth details or see like what I'm getting from these deals, then you can go check my channel. This one, it can be very hit or miss. Like for example, I'm sure a lot of you who are selling on eBay and Depop and things like that get ads a lot for like companies like Thrift Vintage Fashion that sell like bales. Those are not good bales. You are not gonna get valuable items, and if you do, you probably have to pay up for them per piece. It's just not worth it. It's not a viable solution to sourcing, in my opinion. There are some ways to get bales from people where they are kind of valuable. If you go watch my vintage bale opening video, I do say who I got that bale from, and they were more of a smaller distributor of bales. So you can find them. There's people on Instagram that will offer them. I just wouldn't go onto any of those big websites that have tons of ads everywhere. I'm sure you've seen them. I've seen other companies too. I've looked into them and they're not really worth it. This one is more only for people who live in a more rural area. I think there is plenty of better ways to source. Every sourcing method I've named so far is better than this one, and that's just my opinion. I've obviously sourced on almost all of these, And so that's been my experience. They can be a viable way to source again, but only really if you live in a rural area and none of these other options are available for you. That's the only time I would consider investing a lot of money into it. Maybe if you want to test 1 or 2 bales from someone and see how it goes, now that's cool. But putting more than like $1,000 into these kind of things doesn't really seem like the best idea to me. And then this is going to be the last one. This one is kind of niche, all right? So not everyone uses this app. This one is going to be Discord. Not everyone uses this app. I do recommend using it. It's a great way to establish relationships in the reselling community. You can go on Discord, join some reselling groups, especially ones that are related to whatever you sell. I'm in a few clothing reselling servers on Discord, and I have recently started trying out like buying, like people will offer to sell. You might, this could be another way to find local, or not local, but reseller buyouts. I have seen people offer those on Discord as well. Recently, I've done a few buyouts on Discord. Like last week I did one. This guy was in one of the chats on Discord, and he was offering 20 like vintage Y2K Harley pieces, $100 shipped, which is $5 per piece. And they were actually pretty good pieces. $5 per piece for Harleys, typically not very good. I have one of the items on my desk. Like, this is a really cool one. This is like a Harley, like Mexico one. It's in perfect condition, and it's an older one. I think it's, let's see. Well, it's a Mexico one, so it's made in Mexico. But it is an older, like 90s Harley, and it's a really cool design. Like, I'll probably get like 25 for this. So the profit on that is pretty good. And then a week or two before that, I did another deal. I can't even remember now what it was, but it was a very profitable deal. It was another smaller deal. It was like $200 for like 40 or 50 items or something like that. And that was a really good deal as well. So you can find deals on these Discord servers. Of course, don't get scammed. And the Discord server where I did both those deals, they had already done several deals in the server, and they were reputable sellers. If it's just a random person you've never talked to in a server before or have no relationship with, I would be wary, maybe ask a few other people in the server if they're reputable or not. I always recommend when you're working with people and they're shipping online to pay through PayPal goods and services. If they try to say pay with PayPal family and friends, that's an instant red flag. If you use PayPal goods and services, you can get a refund if they don't ever ship it. So if you ever do find a good deal on Discord or even on Instagram, this applies to Instagram as well. If you do find a good deal, make sure that you ask to pay with PayPal goods and services. If they aren't accepting PayPal goods and services, I would just walk away from the deal. I've never done a deal without doing it through PayPal goods and services. It's just too much of a risk, because let's say they ask for you to Venmo them and you Venmo them $300, $400, and then they just ghost you. There's literally nothing you can do about it. If you pay them through PayPal goods and services, you can do something about it. So make sure you do that. That is all for today's video. I could go more in depth on each one of these. Like I said, I have videos on most of these methods on my channel. I didn't want to make this video too long, so I hope I at least kind of explain each way. If there's any more questions you guys have about a specific method, or if you have any questions about anything reselling related, please comment below. I'm always making new videos in relation to whatever the comments are asking for. So comment below what you guys have questions about. I will answer your question, but I also am always looking for new video ideas as well. So let me know in the comments. I appreciate all y'all for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let's try to get to 2K subscribers soon. Appreciate all y'all for watching. Peace.